Hello, everyone. I'm Beverly Vogt. I'm with the Breast Cancer Wellness Magazine, and this is our next session of our virtual series about what breast cancer survivors need to know about clinical trials. I'm joined today by Stacy Lewis, and Stacy is the Chief Program Officer and Deputy Chief Officer at the Young Survivors Coalition. I've known Stacy for a long time. She's very dedicated to this space. She works very hard, and I very much appreciate her work and her organization's work. And especially at this time while we're going through all these changes in health industry, COVID and everything, bringing attention to your programs, I think, is very important because the needs of breast cancer survivors has not gone away. And so I'm very thankful for this actual, these virtual series to bring more information for survivorship. So, Stacy, if you can share with us about you and your organization, that would be a great place to start.
Beverly, thank you so much for having me. Thank you for inviting Young Survival Coalition to co-host this series, very important series with you and Breast Cancer Wellness Magazine, because this is really critical information for today and for our future as it relates to oncology care and breast cancer survivorship. So as Beverly said, I am Stacy Lewis. I serve as the Chief Program Officer and Deputy Chief Executive at Young Survival Coalition. YSC is how we refer to it. Is a 22-year-old organization that is solely focused on meeting the unique needs of the young adult breast cancer population. So while a smaller part of the breast cancer population, certainly their needs as young adults diagnosed or being impacted by a diagnosis are very unique. And so with that, we offer a multitude of virtual programs, an abundance of face-to-face groups that are now currently meeting online that are geographically based, yet of course because of the pandemic they are not meeting in person as much. We also host a great amount of content on our website, which is youngsurvival.org. As well as we're embarking upon a really interesting project, recognizing that the population of young adults diagnosed with breast cancer and impacted by a breast cancer diagnosis are not just here in the United States, where I am at least, and it is indeed a global issue. So we believe that there are over 500,000 young adults living with a history of breast cancer, so diagnosed before their 40th birthday. And we'd really like to get a sense of what their needs are. So we'll be embarking upon a global needs assessment, and we look forward to sharing that with the breast cancer wellness audience and with the TrialJectory audience and with everyone who is interested in learning more about the unique needs of the population. So thank you again, Beverly.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you again for the work that you do. And I'm a young survivor, not young as I used to be, but I was diagnosed at age 38, and that was 28 years ago. Woo-hoo. So I know how important your work is. I personally know.
Thank you.
And when I was diagnosed, there was an organization like yours.
Right.
So it's amazing. Next, I would like to introduce the sponsor of this session and the co-founder and the CEO of TrialJectory. And her name is very unique, but Tzvia Bader. Did I say it correctly?
Exactly. Thank you, Beverly.
It's beautiful. She is a cancer survivor. She has decades of experience as a technology entrepreneur. Now, she knows firsthand how important clinical trials are because she has experienced 3 clinical trials herself, and 3 years later, she's in remission. So we think this is wonderful on so many levels. And from that experience, she was led to create TrialJectory. And this company matches cancer patients to advanced treatments that are right for their condition and their personal preference. So, and I think that is very important. And she lives in New Jersey with her husband, 3 girls, and 2 dogs. And so welcome and thank you for being part of this important messaging for breast cancer survivors. And, I'd like to just jump in and ask, how does a clinical trial benefit a breast cancer survivor?
So first
Or
of all,
if you'd rather start someplace else, that's okay too.
no, we'll start there. So thank you for having me. I really, really appreciate being here. I think for a breast cancer survivor or breast cancer diagnosed or anyone with a recurrence, we need to be aware of what is a starting point. What are our options, right? We need to know what's out there that can benefit us and can help us and give us the best option of beating this beast. So we all know, we've lived with cancer. We know this is not a simple disease. And it's not easily cured, and it's not easily responding to treatment. And I think when you deal with something so sophisticated, you have to make sure that you have the best ammunition on your side in order to beat it. And what we see in the world of cancer care in recent years, there's been a shift, and there's a lot more new advanced treatment, and the majority of them are in clinical trials. So if you're buying a phone now, I don't think you'll definitely necessarily go to iPhone 5 or 6 before you'll check whatever. I don't even keep track anymore, the 10 or the 11 or the 12, whatever they came up with. So the same idea, you might end up thinking, you know what, 6 is good enough for me, and I want to start with that, but you're going to check what are the other options, the advanced option, and there you make a decision. And that's for me what clinical trial is. When you look at the NCCN guidelines, which is basically the Bible of the oncologist, this is what they use in order to decide what should we be treated with. It actually states now in a big box that clinical trials are considered the best management for cancer patients these days. Wow. And they're not saying it lightly. They're saying it because of the advanced treatment. They're more effective, and a lot of the times, not always, a lot of the times, they have less side effects when you look at immunotherapy and targeted therapy side effects compared to the chemo. And we all lived with the chemo and the loss of hair and vomiting, and we're not gonna give you the whole list because each one of you probably have like still nightmares at night remembering those. And I just saw research coming out that 60% of the newly diagnosed are afraid to start chemo because of the hair loss. So, which I can understand to some degree. It is a little bit revealing and scary. So there is less side effects, and also the care is better in clinical trials. So you're monitored more carefully and you're tested more frequently, because you know what, the pharma is paying for that, and they want to make sure that they know what's going on with us. So there is more monitoring. That's why the outcome is better for patients, and that's why it's recommended. So that's the reason I think everyone should look at it. Not necessarily you'll decide to be on a clinical trials. Not always there'll be one that is better or right for you. But knowing your option and knowing if there is anything out there that could be an option for you, I think it's a must. And that's where I think that's why I think breast cancer patients should. And I think if a breast cancer patient now goes to the best of hospitals in the world, okay, the MD, the Memorial, the Dana-Farber, whatever, the first thing the oncologist will do is will look at his list of which trials are running at that site. And that's the first dialogue you'll have with her. And then if he doesn't have any right trials, then he's going to move to the standard of care. So if that's what they're doing in the best, then every patient should deserve the same kind of dialogue, right? Wherever he's getting treated, in the clinic next to home, in our community setting, with our beloved oncologist that is closer to our home. We should still start with that best practice. But the issue is that we need to, in order for that to happen, we need to do it. And we need to take charge of it in order to bring those options and have that type of dialogue.
So they make their best choice.
So
that's for them.
The best goes for them. It doesn't mean that you'll decide to do it. It doesn't mean you're not going to go with the first option that your oncologist offer, but you need to know your option. We just had a patient that had a recurrence, unfortunately, after 10 years, breast cancer patient with a recurrence. And she went to an oncologist, and she reached out to us after, and she said, how could it be that he's like, want to put me on the same chemo protocol I was on 10 years ago? It's been 10 years. Nothing has changed since then. I read, I hear there's new drugs, new solution. So it doesn't apply to me. And a lot of them, don't necessarily know everything that is out there that is new. So that they can't keep up. It's very complex. I don't for a second think oncologist doesn't want what's best for us. I think we expect too much of them. They can't know it all, right? They're not wiki. They don't. That's like what we want them to know all options. There is like around, I think, 6,000 or 7,000 trials for breast cancer right now, just for breast cancer.
Wow.
It's a lot, right? Each one of them has around 20 to 30 what it's called eligibility criteria, which has been the description of for which patient this is right. Because we're not looking now at just breast cancer. It's like, is it what type of breast cancer, what subtype, what stage, what treatment you received before, overall condition. They're looking at us in a more holistic way, which is good. That's why the new drugs are more effective. But we cannot expect him then to remember all those options and know all of it, and then calculate in the 7 minutes he has with us and be able to offer us all of that, right?
Right. Correct. That's the world we live in.
That's the world we live in. So we have to do something different, and we have to own our journey, and we have to find our voices that we lose so many times in those situations.
So my next question is, how does she know if she's a candidate for a clinical trial?
So what we do, so in order to know you're ineligible for clinical trials, or you need to know if your medical profile fits those eligibility criteria that I just described, right? Someone needs to do the matching. And that's where it became problematic, right? Because your oncologist, like we said, it's too much. When oncologists trying to do that, and it takes them around 2 days, and they have the medical language to do so. If we will go as a patient to clinicaltrial.gov, we'll find ourselves reading a lot of complex medical, clinical information that we don't understand. I can tell you that when I got my diagnosis, and I was like, okay, I need to, we'll talk about it probably later, but I need to do something. So I found the FDA database, and, you know, as a techie, of course, I was able to find it, and then I started sitting on it, and I said, oh, and I was looking at it like a zombie. And at that point, I really educated myself about the disease. I felt like I understood it. I understood the terminology, and I still couldn't understand a word there. Like, it was way above my ability to process it. Not to mention, yeah, there was the emotional state that we are in, but it was still not, it's not meant for patients, for sure. As the one oncologist told me, it's actually not even meant for oncologists. It's the researcher that write it in their own little language. He said, I sometimes don't understand what they mean by it. Yeah. So you know, as a techie, what I believe in, and the three of us spoke about it before a little bit, that technology has a role in this. Technology can help us overcome barriers. That's the role of technology. It doesn't exist for its own sake. Geeks might think it's cool, but other than that, there is one reason why we need Google, right, to find answers to things. There is a reason for technologies to help overcome it. So what we develop in TrialJectory is really an engine that can read this treatment protocol, can understand the research language, and let a patient come in, tell us about his condition. So tell us things that the patient knows, like what is diagnosis, type, subtype, if he had a biopsy or not, what treatment he received, what was the outcome for him. And at the end of this questionnaire, which is dynamic and short, he gets matched. So then he can immediately has a list that tells them, okay, those are the treatments that are right for you, that are a fit from you. Now you start your journey from here. No more unclarity if there's anything out there. What are my options? Those are your options. Now let's explore it. And in order to explore it, there's a couple of things we do in TrialJectory. And regardless of TrialJectory, I think a patient should do that whenever he's presented with treatment option, right? We curate for a patient-friendly language so a patient will understand. So that's where, again, technology can help us translate the world for us. So we take the language of the medical and we turn it into what we patient understand. So instead of telling me it's a combination of GXW4 with CX, whatever, we actually say it's a combination of immunotherapy, PD-L1 negative, with a chemotherapy for advanced metastatic breast cancer. Okay. So now I understand what it is. And I can actually, we also put it in categories. It's immunotherapy. Okay, so I know it sits in the category of immunotherapy because we understand by now immunotherapy targeted. So, okay, I understand the treatment. Now tell me, and that's what we do, tell me how treatment is given. Is it IV? Is it by injection? Is it a pill? Where is this trial? Is it close to home? Not close to home. What is the trial trying to predict? Remission, reduce side effects. What is the purpose of this drug? What is it offering me? Is there going to be a control team? Meaning, we say placebo as patient, but we need to be aware it's not true. On the cancer research, they'll never give us just sugar pill. They'll either give us the standard of care, what we would have gotten anyway, or they'll give us the new drug. So in any way, we're in good hands. We're not getting.
That's valuable information to know.
Important.
Very valuable.
It's important to know that no one is putting our lives at risk, even if we go to trial. And then basically you have so now you have a list. Now you understand it. Now go explore it. Talk to your oncologist. Ask him what he thinks about it. What does he think about this option? Go meet with the trial investigator. It's a big name. The trial investigator is basically an oncologist that is located in another clinic that is running the trial. So he is an expert in his field. Like if it's a breast cancer, he's probably an expert in breast cancer triple negative or ER, PR positive, depends on what the trial is. So he's an expert in his field, and you can go meet with him. So he'll better explain to you the clinical logic behind the trial and why do they think it's effective and what is it supposed to achieve. So you can make an educated decision if you want to do it or you don't want to do it. Go ahead.
So, Tzvia, can you talk a little bit about how this technology would work or benefit those that maybe aren't as, I would consider you cancer savvy at this point, right? But we have, I think all of us are serving and striving to reach the population that is more newly diagnosed, whether early or metastatic disease, and that are not too cancer savvy. This is their first experience with cancer. So while we wouldn't expect them to go and meet with that PI, that principal investigator, how would this technology benefit and engage that population?
So it's the right question, because I think when we built the platform, that was what we wanted. That was the pen intended. I didn't want any medical terminology or any kind of expectation from someone who understands the disease. I wanted actually to be the place that you feel safe, and what technology does, does all the legwork for you. Right. So that's why all the questions are in a patient-friendly language. So you don't need to understand a lot. It's things you know, and if you don't know about your disease, we'll show you where to find it in your document. And if you don't even know where to find it in your document, you just have this report from the hospital. You have the biopsy report. So you upload it to us, and we automatically will create the profile for you. So all the process of building the profile is very intuitive and directed into those who are less cancer savvy and also maybe less technical savvy. There's a solution for them as well, because we have a team there to support. In terms of the result, like I said, first we translate it to a patient-friendly language. So very, very basic language. And there is a little explanation about anything. Even when there is immunotherapy, if you don't know what it is, there is a box that explains immunotherapy is a treatment that actually goes and activate your immune system to fight the disease. So we give a lot of explanation, help you navigate and start to understand this new world that you live in. The other thing, there's two more things that we do around it. That I wanted to say, we create a lot of the tools to help you understand what question to ask around it. So if you go talk to your oncologist about it, if you go meet with this trial investigator, we create this list of questions. That's what you need to ask him. Ask him why does he think it works. Ask him about side effect and side effect management. Ask him what's the proposed. So we build this list of questions that you can come with. You print it, you come with it, you know what to ask, you fill it up, and then it will structure the way it helps you understand how to make a decision. And last but not least, one thing that we realized, I'm a techie, right? I can live online. Maybe COVID was good for people like me. Leave me with my computer and my screens, I'm good. But most people are not like that, and they need people to talk to, and they need help. So we created a support team for them. So we have in our team cancer researcher, and we have social worker that actually their purpose in life is to help you understand. So let's assume you've gone through it and you have a list now, and still with everything that we make it very friendly and we look very easy, like a, you know, like an Airbnb or kayak, you still, does that make sense to you? There is a team there that you can schedule a call with that will actually explain it to you in a language that you understand, that will make sure that you understand every line item there. And then we'll also help you set up time with the site. So if you want to go investigate with the site, we will reach out to the site and schedule it for you. So we will mitigate it and translate it until you get to the point of that you're comfortable to make that decision.
So if I'm considering a clinical trial and wanting information, is there a fee for your services to use of your tool?
Never a fee for a patient. Otherwise, there would not be a point like building it, because like, come on.
So helping them to get from point A to point B, as far as understanding their options, it's free.
It's free.
And you mentioned earlier easy.
It's easy,
and not time consuming.
Not time consuming, quick, seamless, and patient friendly and free. And maybe I will add to it something else. It's also secured. So all the data is being kept according to HIPAA. So personal information separated from medical information. We don't mix the two. The other thing that we make clear, that we make sure we never sell personalized data. Give me 1 second. Sorry, kids shouting. Here.
Hey, we're all used to the joys from working from home.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I apologize for that. So we never sell patient information, okay? It doesn't go anywhere. The only place a patient information will go is to the site after a patient approved that he want to meet with the site and want to get that. We started it from the belief that we need to empower patient and give them options. We need to give patient better tool to navigate through their journey and truly partner with their oncologist. So we never wanted to add another barrier. And if we would ask for fee from a patient, it will add a barrier. And there's no need. This, unfortunately, for a lot of other institutions, cancer patients are big business, right? When you look at the hospital, when you look at the pharmaceutical company, I don't know, even this week, one of the pharmaceutical companies reported 50% increase in their profit as a result of oncology drugs. Okay, so it's a big business for them. So we charge them for our services, and they're looking for patients, and they need patient, they want to understand patient. So we bring them patient, and we service the patient, and we service the pharmaceutical company, and everything with full transparency. So
they pay you, and the patient or survivor there's no fee from them. But
no fee.
Okay, so for your services, they're recovered from
the pharmaceutical company.
Awesome.
So I think saying that it is important, if you could then reiterate what type of data goes to the pharmaceutical company or to the research engine behind the clinical trial, so that patients, because I think that, when we hear the word data, for those of us that understand data protections, we're less hesitant. But for those of us that are now in this new world of cancer diagnosis, cancer treatment, cancer conversation, and talking about data at the same time. So if you could reiterate what those walls are, or those firewalls are between the patient, the industry, and you, that would be helpful, I think.
Thank you, Tracy. So it's thank you for asking me. It's a very important one. Patient needs to understand they will never be exposed as an individual, their name, their address, their email, anything to do with them to anyone other than the hospital, what I call the site, if they decide to apply, because then we will connect them so they can go and have the meeting and make a decision. That's all. we keep separately all the once the patient fills the questionnaire, they tell us about condition, treatment they receive, etc. That is what I call data. This is we store at a separate server, not connecting to your personal information. We take this without your personal information, so it's accumulated. It's a lot of patients, thousands of patients' information, and soon it will be 10,000 of patient information. And that's what we use with pharma and also for other patients. So I'll give you an example. So we use that to benefit the industry, because what we want to do is use this data to serve everybody. So if you think about your journey as a patient, a lot of time when a doctor tells us about a treatment, we ask him, can you tell me a little bit about what is the side effect, or was it effective for other survivor? What was the outcome for other survivor? The only data point he can give us is what was done in the study, right? In the trial a few years back and on a limited few thousand sample. We take this data and so no one can really tell us. And sometimes we'll ask our community of survivors, right? Tell me, others have received it. Was it effective for them? What we do is we can take this data and analyze it. And then basically when you come to the platform, I can share with you that other survivors like you meaning they have the same type, subtype, stage, maybe mutation and biomarkers. This is the treatment they've received, and this is what they reported as an outcome. How many of them it actually got them into remission? How many had to stop because of disease progression or toxicity? So we'll share that data. It's not personalized, but it gives you more understanding of what's going on. Same thing, we want to educate the pharma. We want the pharma to understand the patient voice and the patient journey and the patient barrier. So we take this data that we collect and we share it with the pharma on that level. So it's never an individual name, but we share with them if they have a trial out there. And many patients that match the trial profile decided not to apply because maybe the location is far from home. They keep it like on the East Coast and the West Coast and forget the Mid-America, right? So we will highlight them for them, like, hey, or part of the design is to come to get blood works every week. And that's a barrier for a lot of us who are trying to handle work, family. So we will bring this as a barrier and say, look, this is a barrier for patients. So they can think about, is it necessarily once a week? Or if it's just blood works, can it be done in a clinic next to home instead of going to the hospital? And then we'll also share with them, based on their design of the trial. Remember, we talked about they designed this trial and they put a lot of exclusion and inclusion criteria. How many patients get excluded for not important exclusion criteria? Such as you'll have in the exclusion sometimes diabetic. Maybe the majority of us still have diabetic. It doesn't interfere with our cancer, should not necessarily interfere with the drug. So something to think about if they want to make their drug more available to a larger patient population. And so forth and so forth. So we take this patient data and the patient journey and the patient barriers in our journey, and we bring it back to the pharma, but just as data point, nothing that anybody can relate to any individual. Did that make it clear? You're on mute.
That's so important nowadays. I think, people's privacy, whether they're doing banking or healthcare or anything in between, there's a lot of question around that. So I think that your explanation there was truly important. Thank you.
Yeah, and we all know that. We've been in a call and then all of a sudden we see in our feed advertisement for things we spoke about in our calls, right?
Yes.
Or we search and then they target out an advertisement. That will never be the case. You have to remember, and maybe you will get, I'm a cancer patient or cancer patient survivor. So when I'm thinking about our platform, the reason I build it is for me and for my community. And when I'm always thinking about the platform and what to do with it and what to add and what makes sense, I'm the first one that it needs to work for. Absolutely. Like if it doesn't make sense for me, then I'm not going to bring it to my community. If it's jeopardizing me or makes me feel uncomfortable, then hell no, then I'm not going to do it. Like, because, so maybe I'll tell you maybe a little bit, if it makes sense now, about my own journey.
Yes, please. Yes.
So I lost my mom 20 years ago. Actually, it was November 9. to cancer. And I remember her, journey vividly, because basically when she got diagnosed, we were told it's not the best of news, but not bad. You'll have one tough year and she'll be okay. She didn't. She didn't even make it 1 year. She passed 8 months after diagnosis. And we never asked any questions when she was going for her journey. Basically, whatever our oncologist told us, she needs this protocol. It doesn't work. We need to try this. Okay, we'll try this. We never for a second stopped and said, well, she's not responding to the treatment. Maybe we should start thinking otherwise. By the time we started asking questions, and by the time her oncologist actually said, look, this is not going as we expected, we need to think differently, it was too late. She deteriorated and we lost her fairly quickly. So when I got my diagnosis at the age of 40, so if, yeah, I don't know, does that still count for you as a young survivor?
Yes.
Good. And I had my baby, my youngest daughter was 1, and my other 2 were not that much older. I knew I needed a better outcome. I knew that that's not a possibility for me, right? I've got 3 young girls at home. I need to beat it. And I went and met with my first oncologist in a large community center not far from home. I waited 3 hours. He came into the room. He looked at me quickly and basically said, well, you're not doing too well. I was just like, what? I literally learned I have cancer 2 weeks ago. I still don't know what it means. What do you mean I'm not doing too well? And he was just brushing me off, and it's I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about the option. Maybe there's one drug. Maybe there's one trial. You need to get the brain MRI and we'll talk after. And he literally left the room.
Wow.
And I'm not unique, right? When you hear about it, it's sort of
right.
Shit, how can anybody do it? But so many of us, right?
Yes.
They don't have the time. They go through us and they have, they have 200 active patients a day. And from his perspective, he doesn't know yet what to do with me because he's not sure whether I have brain metastatic or not. And that's important for treatment decision. So logically now I can understand where he's coming from.
Right.
And maybe I shouldn't, but I do now. But you sit there as a patient, and you're sort of what am I going to do now? What do you mean? So for me, it was okay, I looked at my husband and was I'm not coming back here. First of all, just so you know, it's not the case. And B, we're screwed. We have to do something. And he was just okay, what do you want to do? I said, okay, I need to understand my option. I need to learn. So that's where I started investigating and reading and getting to the FDA database, which, as I said, was way over my head. And then I decided I'm lucky. I live in New York. New Jersey. I'll go to New York. There is, one of the best hospitals. I'll go there. I'll get treated there. Maybe they'll give me more options. And I went there, and I'm still my oncologist there. I owe him my life. He's been amazing and everything. But when I met with him, and he gave me options, I was just ooh, options. That's good. That's a good start. I asked him, but are you giving me options based on what's the best out of everything out there? You did the comparison for me and you're telling me those 3 options are the best option for me right now. Or if I'll go to another oncologist in another hospital right now, I'll get different option. And the third one will give me, I wanted to know whose agenda am I serving here? I wanted to know that someone is looking at my best interest and doing the legwork for me, because I can't do it. I can't travel all over this country right now and meet with different oncologists. And even if I could, how could I choose between them? What would I understand from what they're saying? What's best for me? And he was honest as can be. And he said, no, unfortunately, what I'm presenting is what's here and what I'm involved and aware of. So he was very frank and honest. And I was just okay, so that's not good. So if I want to know I'm getting the best and I'm giving it the best shot I have to win this, then I need to do more. So then on a personal note, I started asking around, and I found a friend of mine knew a cancer researcher who worked at NYU. So she introduced me to her. So all of a sudden I had this lady who helped me comb through the option, understand the option. and advise and help me understand what would make sense to me. So I started with one clinical trial that was targeted therapy because I have a mutation that is known, and there is a targeted therapy for it. So for those who doesn't know what it is, it's basically if there is a mutation that was identified genetically, for some of them there is drugs that are targeting that. So instead of putting chemo that poisons the entire body, it goes after that. So I did that, and that gave me like 7 or 8 months of disease-free, and then it came back. And then I went on Keytruda, which is an immunotherapy, so activating the immune system. Then didn't do much. My disease continued spreading. So then I joined another clinical trials that basically, it almost sounds like science fiction, combine the immunotherapy with TVAC. TVAC is as injection infection into the body. So then there'll be an infection, and then the immune system will like go over the infection, and then it will, on its way, will fight the cancer. So I did that. That worked for a couple of months, but then it wasn't enough. The cancer continued spreading. That's cancer for us all, right? And then I did something else, the third trial, which actually combined immunotherapy with chemotherapy, and that did the tricks for me. So that was it was very aggressive treatment. And again, I had to make a decision. There was other option. I could do a combo of treatment, and I chose. That's where the patient voice comes into play. When I was presented with this option, my oncologist and my surgeon said, "Look, it's a very, very aggressive option. Do you want to try? We still have other things you can do." And I said, "You know what? I know this BIST by now. My BIST is a mean BIST. It's a mean cancer. It's not going anywhere. I feel like I need to go aggressive with it. I feel like I'm strong enough to do it now. He's dealing with a mom. I'm not gonna, I have a lot of strength in me. I delivered 3 girls. I can do this. So I want to go aggressive and try and beat it once and for all versus something that is less aggressive." And it was my choice. But I had a choice because A, I knew I had the treatment option, and B, I knew what does it mean each treatment option, and then I could make a decision that is right for me, and that's what I want the patient to have. So that's why I built TrialJectory. So this lady, this cancer researcher who helped me, when I got my net result, I said, okay, now I'm a techie. I'll build a technology that mimic your brain. So everybody have access to your brain. So everybody have this access to someone to help them navigate, find their voice, and make a decision for themselves.
Listening to you, it does sound like you were, and clearly successfully have built that bridge between your human experience of that researcher mentoring, guiding you, and now you put that researcher into technology, so to speak, so that he or she can then mentor and guide others in the community, the cancer community.
Exactly. You put it spot on. And that was the idea behind it. Not everybody can find a friend that will do it for them. So, and we need that for everybody. And we need it at every given point. When you sit at home, and we also need it accessible, because you sit at home, right? And you're scared.
Right.
And the thoughts like running through your brain of what's next and what's going to happen and what's out there that can help save me. What can I do that will save me and help me win this battle against cancer? I want at that point that you will have an outlet to go to. Pick up your phone, pick up your iPad, go to TrialJectory, and then see there are options. There is hope for you. You'll know what you can do. And all of a sudden, like, okay, if you have options, then there is a hope. Without knowing your option, it's hard to find hope. But when you have option, all of a sudden you find hope. And then we help you navigate your journey into actually winning. That's the whole cause. That's the whole point.
I love your passion. That your work sounds even more than passion. It sounds like a calling. It sounds like a calling based on your own personal experience.
I think, Beverly, both for you and from what you and I spoke about, what made you start breast cancer wellness, from the calling you felt to give meaning to your experience, and from what I heard from Tracy just now, I feel like all 3 of us, it's about taking what we've been through and the barriers and what we found so difficult, and just solving it for the rest of us as a community.
Yes, we're all here to make a difference. That's right. To help as many as we can.
Now she has, she's got a special, let's talk about owning your journey. Let's talk about that and what that means to you, because I love that. I love that. So you want to share your thoughts on about owning your journey?
Sure, I'll share mine, and then I'll love to hear also your thoughts about it.
She's turning it on us.
No, because I think for me that was from day one when I started to explain to people what do I want to do? I want to help patients on their journey. Like that was my statement, my slogan, my mission from day one. And for me, owning your journey is about is the good and the hard, right? It's easy to sometimes, or it seems like easy to outsource this to someone, to think that we'll outsource this to our oncologist and he'll make the decision for us. We let him tell us what's right or wrong and what should we do. It almost sounds like the easy option, but unfortunately, we can't afford to do it. This is a fight for our life, and we need to be the advocate for ourselves. And no one knows us better. So no one will fight for you more than you'll fight for yourself, ever. The best oncologist in the world, he can't. It's you. No one will know, and I go back to my example, what you're able to tolerate and when. What's right for you at any given point? Where's your pain threshold? How much time off work and the house you can take, because there's still things that are depending on you. So there's so many attributes that comes into play when you go for this journey as a patient, that in order to win it and to manage it in the best way for you, you need to own it. You need to understand that the same way you own your household or your kids' education and your career, you own this cancer journey. And you take advice from many people, and you go out there and you research and you find options and you raise your voice and you tell what you want and you don't want. And you find your support team, and you find your online support resource that helps you educate yourself and help you understand and find this voice of yours. But you own it, and you take responsibility, and you make the decision. You don't outsource it to anybody. You don't think that anybody else will do a better job for you than you. So, and it starts by getting your voice back and knowing your option and educating yourself and making those decisions for yourself.
I think that was so well said. I don't have anything to add to that. I think it is important for you to share how the cancer community, the breast cancer community, can access TrialJectory or learn more about it.
So easy. I know it's a hard name though, but basically go to www.trialjectory.com. So it's like Trial Injectory.
We'll have the links up too.
And we'll have the links. And you can go from your mobile, you can go from desktop, iPad, whatever. And again, throughout it, and it goes back to what you said, Tracy, before. If you are not sure, not comfortable, you need help, we're there for you. So there's a little support widget. Just shoot us an email, say, I'm not sure how to answer this question. I need help filling the questionnaire. Or I filled it, but now I need help to understand it. You can schedule time to talk to us. We can talk to you over email, whatever is comfortable for you. But it's not just another platform of technology. There's people there, and we're there to help the breast cancer community.
And Stacy and I, Stacy shared how long she's been in this space and everything. But in the breast cancer community, there are over 300,000 women diagnosed every year, and there's over 3 million survivors, currently in the United States. And whether we're in remission, and if we worry about recurrence, we worry about support, and we worry about what I worry about for women is them finding their voice. Because those that don't have those voice, it's hard to find. And I was asked once, what do we do for them? Because there's so many that we don't know. And the only answer I have for that is we pray. We pray for them. And we pray that they believe enough in their life to ask for help. Because every one of us on this journey, we don't heal alone. It takes a team. But we have to ask for help. And sometimes breast cancer survivors aren't sometimes women, sometimes we're shy about that.
Yeah.
But when we do, the load gets lighter. So when you have tools such as TrialJectory offers that is quick and simple and something they can explore just for curiosity, and because in this process of doing this virtual summit, I have learned so much, and I've been in this pink space almost 3 decades, and every layer leads me to more. And so I'm very thankful that we've had this conversation because, excuse me, you use the word, it's hope. It's hope. And women believing in their journey, believing in their lives, is very important to me in my work. And once they claim that about themselves, shift happens and they can move forward. And so having tools like this just keeps moving them forward in their path so they don't stay stuck in helplessness. And then they learn there's a big, wonderful pink family out there. And
I would add, Beverly, to that sense of hope and to the fact that sometimes women don't like to ask for help. I think the same for the men in our cancer community and in our breast cancer community that have been diagnosed with breast cancer or living with some type of cancer. That asking for help is just not something sometimes that we as human creatures are empowered to do. And utilizing technology, I think, allows people to ask for help in ways that maybe are not so public. So for those that are not public facing and ready to ask outwardly for that help, I think having something like TrialJectory is a beautiful thing to really lead them to the answers for their treatment, as well as hopefully connect them with some of the support and other resources that are out there for their journey.
Almost, like I said, almost 3 decades ago when I was diagnosed, shame was a big factor. And we just did not speak publicly when we were diagnosed, not very much. Of course, we're much more outspoken now, but there is still a shame factor in this cancer space. Sometimes it's underneath underneath the surface there, but it's like we have to heal that for them, because again, having a space to go where you may not have hope, or you may be ashamed, and you may not have the support that you would like to be your own best advocate. So this is a place to start. Exactly. And in the world of technology, that still exists. Where do I begin the journey?
That's right.
Where I began. Where's my next best step? And that's what the breast cancer wellness is all about, is helping them take the next best step for themselves, what's best for them. So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've covered a lot of very important information. I thank you both. Stacey, I thank you for your space in the young survivor space. And this with TrialJectory is it's great information. I'm very, very thankful we're able to share this with the breast cancer communities across the country. It'll make a difference. It'll make a difference.
That's the whole idea. Thank you so much for having us today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Both of you have a blessed day, and our next session is coming up. And so thank you both, and have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Same here. Bye.
Nice to meet you, Tzvia.
Nice to meet you. Bye.